So 6 minutes before first horse. It is the $35,700 Staller Welcome Stake.
6 minutes to first horse. Well, this competition very, very kindly supported and sponsored by the team from Staller. It is the Airbnb for horses, a web and mobile app that allows us, the equine enthusiasts, to search for stall options available for rent in the United States. It's a platform that streamlines the overall rental process whilst allowing tenants and barn owners to interact and transact through it in an easy and secure manner. It's a platform that also allows tenants and barn owners to complete their transactions, and Staller allows you to browse through a wide network of available barns, refining your search by applying filters, allowing you to find the right fit for your horses. And for barn owners, you can list your stalls by creating a confidential property profile on the platform, which features information such as a description, pictures, rental terms, service list, including amenities and reviews. And it aims to become the leading tool available to allow barn owners the ability to enhance their revenue potential by delivering visibility and opening access to the short-term rental market like never seen before. A big thank you and shout out to the team from Staller supporting and sponsoring this $35,700 welcome stake.
Now I'm waiting to set the course, starting with the launching fence in front of the Taylor Harris Club, the VIP hospitality there, swinging to the right over the Douglas Elman feature fence, and then to the left-handed turn to the 5-stride distance from the yellow and white vertical through to the blue and white Australia fence
number 4. The Araby-Danbury double is the first of the double combinations, with the vertical going in, one jumping stride and the oxer coming out.
And as the related distance down to fence number 6 in front of the jury booth, it's the captive one. Left-handed once again on the swinging turn to the Fidelity Investments feature fence at fence number 7, and then the 4-stride distance to the Logano Diamonds at fence number 8. Then it's a left-handed curve to the Hermes at 9. Rolling back, it's the launching Liverpool at fence number 10, 7 strides down to the double at 11A and 11B, and then that's slight right-handed curve to the NetJets also on the 6-stride distance there. Then left-handed will gallop down the hill towards the Taylor Harris Club once again, and it's the Staller feature fence to conclude that 13-fence course. 13 numbered fences with the 2 double combinations, it is 15 jumping efforts. The course running at 490 metres, giving a time allowed of 79 seconds. We'll be underway in just a few minutes' time.
Well, hello and welcome to the American Gold Cup for 2019. We're about to see the Staller Welcome Stake. This is a one-round competition directly against the clock, and a very strong field as well, about 60 in total coming forward to start. You can see on screen now a few of the runners and riders that are going to be featuring here in this one, and as you can probably also see, the weather has just taken a little bit of a turn for the worst. All morning it's actually been quite bright and sunny. Yesterday was an absolute scorcher. But today, well, it's a little bit damp out there, but it is only meant to be light showers as the afternoon continues. I'm Adam Cromersey. Thanks so much for joining us. If you're on Facebook Live or YouTube Live, let me know where you're watching from, and if you've got any questions, then we'll try and get around to answering those as the broadcast continues throughout this one, the Staller Welcome Stake. We're going to take a look at the course in a little bit detail as the first one comes on track, but first of all, let's introduce you to this one. This is Daniel Blumen, and Entano represents Israel. He's a man that started riding at the age of 3. Of course, his whole family involved. You might have heard of Mark Blumen or Ilan Blumen. Both represented their country. Daniel himself is a 2-time Olympian, and this is the horse he rode in the Grand Prix at the Hampton Classic. Really nice horse called Entano. It's a 10-year-old by Nam Lissar out of a numero uno mare. Plenty of people already joining on the YouTube chat window. We've got Tara watching, Piper Pixies there as well. Sherlock Watson. So let us know where you're watching from here this afternoon. But we start here over this Longines fence number 1. From here, bit of a rollback turn round towards the Douglas element, and we can see already just having a little bit of an issue on course there for Daniel. Looked like the horse didn't quite lock on there. Let's have a look. Gets himself reorganised, rebalanced. He's going to be frustrated with that because this horse has been jumping really well for him recently, and not a complicated fence there. 3's the vertical, and as they land there, about 5 strides as they come down towards that blue and white oxer. Left-handed, and then round towards this double. Upright in, 1 stride, oxer out, and staying on that related distance down towards the upright at fence number 6. This is a big wide rollback turn, plenty of room to kind of decide exactly where you want to go. It is 1 round against the clock though, so as things continue, those that are competitive could certainly make up some time through there. This is fence number 9 on that bending line, the Hermes oxer. Then right-handed round that top corner once again. And this is going to be a Liverpool as they come round towards another set of Longines standards. See that little Liverpool water tray sitting underneath. That'll be filling up if it keeps raining. 7 strides brings him down this line towards the double. Oxer, 1 stride upright out. And a nice curved line down towards fence number 12. And then 1 left to come. It is the stellar fence, the sponsor fence to finish, that red and white vertical. And that stop at fence 2 is going to be very, very costly because we've only got the 4 jumping faults, but a lot of time faults in there as well. Brings the total up to 17 for Daniel Bloom and finishes on 113.50. Kelly Marie's watching in Ontario, Canada. We've got Tara saying, yeah, it's miserable. Jonah Martins, I think you're the furthest away so far in northern Portugal. Katrina's now watching in Sweden. Dolores Ruth in Ireland as well. Francisco in Brazil. Eric's watching in Tryon. And here's Jenny McAllister coming to join us on track as our second to go here in the stellar Welcome Stake. Batida PJ is the name of the horse. It's a 10-year-old by Balabu Duroe. Good to see Jenny with some new horses out on the international circuit. Jenny herself, of course, is a 2-time World Cup finalist. But this is a brand new ride on the international circuit for Jenny. Those that are in Sweden or follow European show jumping, you might have recognised this one. This is an old ride of Olaf Smith. Jenny off to a good start so far. She's got a nice business in California with her husband, Steve. You see this horse really listening to her today as well. She can take those little checks, it comes right back to her. If you have just joined us here, it is 1 round, it is directly against the clock, so they want to be as tight and as fast as they can and also leave them all up. You could see her just thinking about that stride length as she came down the related distance into the double. Same again here, really placing them correctly down towards the NetJets fence. Time allowed in this one sitting at 79 seconds, so 81.14, just going to pick up that single time fault today. Jenny McAllister finishes on 1, Batita PJ. Plenty of talent still to come forward. This is Katie Dynan coming forward next. In fact, that looks a little bit Adrian Sternlicht. I don't know if there's been a change in the order perhaps down there. That's definitely Adrian though. Yep, Adrian Sternlicht and Tulago. Adrian's quite a local rider actually. She's based with McLean Ward. She lives about 10 minutes away from Old Salem Farm, home of the American Gold Cup. Plains Yard's only about 10 minutes down the road. But this is a horse that Adrian Sternlich took to the Hampton Classic. She was competing it there in the metre 60 division, jumped a couple of nice double clears there. Old one of Pierce Switcher as well. He jumped World Cups on it, Nations Cups. Then it went to Daniel Deusser. But Adrian's actually had this for about 3 years now, knows it really well. And this is going to be an interesting competition here this afternoon because, you know, about half of the field are going to be riding this really competitively, wanting a big slice of the action. And some others may just be using this as a little bit of an introduction to this field, a bit of a warm-up for future events here this weekend. But it's a great chance to see those horses that may be competing this week in the Longines FEI Jumping World Cup New York. It's the second leg of the North American League. We saw the first leg at Thunderbird in Vancouver. Daniel Coyle won that one. You can see Adrian just riding a really smooth track, but for those that have seen Adrian ride before, if she was going against the clock today, she would certainly be going a lot faster and tighter than she is just now. So she's going to think for the nice kind of economic round. She's not slow by any means, but you know, she's not riding this as if it is a one-round competition against the clock. She's using those kind of wider turns, but setting this horse up just perfectly for those competitions later in the weekend. You can see just how still she is with that upper body and with her hands up, and just catches that rail already into time faults, and then just takes the back bar off the oxer. So one rail down. A little bit of time as well. It's going to be a total of 7 today. Adrian Sternlich there with Tulago. As I mentioned, you know, really just using this as a bit of a warm-up today, I think. Jenny McAllister, the best we've seen so far, sitting on that single time fault. The times, though, are going to just keep getting faster and faster as things progress here. Julie Boldovin's just joined us. She's watching on Facebook Live in Norway. Charlotte Watson's watching in Chicago. But Linda in Sweden. Ola Zawada in Wales. I'm not sure if that's Wales in Australia or Wales in the UK. Tara Singh really beautifully ridden. And Olivia, or Oliver maybe, is watching in Singapore. Great to have you with us. Alice Swift just joined as well. Someone else has just joined us is Lacey Gilbertson. She's on track just now with a horse called Bijonder. Been on quite a good campaign with this horse. She actually rides and trains with Shane Sweetenham, an Irish rider who we're going to see in this competition a little bit later on. She's been competing in the jumpers since she was 19. She's 26 now. And she's actually been a little bit unlucky with this horse recently because she's riding really well. We're just having the odd unlucky rail here and there, so hopefully we're not going to see that today. This is a horse she's been riding for about 3 years now, and a couple of other ones, one called Cobalt, one called Balopi, or Poppy as she calls him. Lisa P's asking on YouTube Live if there's any riders from Belgium. I don't think there are. I haven't seen any. Just having a look through the start list here, but nope, Belgium not represented here. And leaving all the fences up so far. Opening up a little bit actually around that corner, keeping that forward pace. Going to be inside the time allowed. Comes home in 77.05. So that's our first clear. Comes from Lacey Gilbertson and Bijonder. Again, nice economic round, some nice smooth turns. Not really going for it against the clock here today. It certainly gives the rest something to chase, 77.05, but I still think the times are going to be much faster than that, probably getting down into the 60s. Simply Equestrian Ellie Cowgirls watching from Louisiana. Sophie's watching in North Carolina. And Sydney Shulman comes forward next. Represents Israel these days. Got a 9-year-old mare with some great breeding. This one's by Tinker's Boy. Azilis de Mensil. And Sydney Shulman now for Israel. Sydney's 24 years of age. She was at the Great Lakes Equestrian Festival over the last couple of months. That's out in Michigan. Such a nice part of the world out there. She added this horse to her string a little bit earlier in the year. And starting to come really consistent. You can see she's got a lot in her hand there. Just has to take the odd check occasionally. Just saying, you know, wait when we get to some of those more delicate fences. Like here. You saw she allowed it to go into the oxer, then sat up down that distance to the upright. This is looking probably the most competitive we've seen so far in the competition. And if you have just joined us, it's the Stoller Welcome Stake here, 1 round against the clock. Second of the international competitions here at the American Gold Cup for 2019. Yep, there's our first one in the 60s, 67.48, much more competitive there. Sydney Shulman setting that brand new standard there, representing Israel. You can see such a huge, big Grand Prix field. There's also other rings in operation here this week. You can probably just make out in the background there. There's another of the jumper rings. There's a little hunter ring up there as well. So certainly plenty of sport all over the place at Old Salem Farm for the American Gold Cup. Skylar Riley about to get underway. Iceman Demuse. This is an old ride of a Scottish rider called Stacey Babes. Stacey's family, her dad George, selling a lot of horses, producing a lot of horses. As I mentioned before when we were watching Sydney's round, you know, consistency's key, and this combination have had so many top 10 finishes recently. Oh, catches that rail though. Piper Pixies from Rhode Island, she's watching now on YouTube Live. Eva Hancock watching from Indiana. Cruz saying Iceman's looking good. He has been really consistent recently, just had that one rail so far today, but putting in quite a solid performance after that. And of course, these combinations have potentially got another 3 days ahead of them. But she knows with a strong field today, probably out of contention, so just steadied down after having that rail. 77.43, just inside the time allowed. Takes one down and finishes on 4 today. Skylar Riley, Iceman Demuse. So Sydney Shulman leads 67.48 time to beat for our remaining combinations. Lucy Delaurier out there about to get underway with a horse called Hester. This is such a wonder horse, this one. Lucy's just 20 years of age, and her and this horse over the years have done so much together. Lucy, a part of the team that picked up a bronze medal at the Pan Am Games. But when you look at her history with this one, you know, she took gold medals at young riders, and now she's moved up from young riders to be jumping Nations Cups and Grand Prix, World Cups. Real success story, and a testament to her as well, that she's also produced this horse up the grades at such a young age. Alice Swift watching in Florida. She's got 2 horses. Good to have you with us, Alice. Prue's watching in Denmark. Lucy now just using this as a bit of a schooling round. You know, if you were listening a little bit earlier, where we were saying, you know, some of these riders will be using this just to set their horses up for the rest of the weekend, and Hester maybe just not quite listening as much as Lucy had hoped today.
And
Popping in the circle, and then that little bit of rain back, counting as 2 disobediences, though, and sadly elimination for Lucy Delorier and Hester. But, you know, definitely one to keep an eye on as things progress here this weekend. As I mentioned, you know, they've done so much together over the years. Just not their day. Clock clears already, though. Sydney Shulman and Lacey Gilbertson sitting first and second. Julia Mincher is watching on Facebook Live, says, looks like a lovely show. It was even nicer yesterday when it was sunny. It was gorgeous yesterday. The good news is the weather for the rest of the weekend is meant to be quite nice. It's just a little bit grey and showery today. But for those that haven't been to the American Gold Cup, we are sitting in good traffic, about 40 minutes in the car from New York town centre, or downtown as they call it here. Well, I went the other day and it took about 1 hour and 40 because the traffic's always a nightmare. Here's Shane Sweetenham coming next in, representing Ireland with this one. Kervisher SCF, a 9-year-old horse, this one. He's definitely having a go today. Shane's been based in the US for many years, since about 2004. Him and his wife Ali have got a great business over here. He's had a busy couple of months actually. He's just back from the Europeans with a horse called Alejandro. This one's going well though. This is one he took to the Grand Prix at Dublin. Just back from having a win at the Hampton Classic as well. And I say this is a horse that really seems to like these big open fields. It really eats up the ground. It's a good success story for him actually, because it's one that he bred at Spy Coast Farm. So, you know, he's bred the horse, he's produced the horse, and it's now out jumping at 4- and 5-star level. Lara Winter's just joined, watching in Brazil. If you are watching, do get involved with the conversation. English would be great, because otherwise, well, I can't read it. Look at this, Shane really opening up down towards this final fence. 67.48 time to beat. 67.30 is his time, straight to the top there. Shane Sweetenham for Ireland now leads the way. Pushes Sydney Shulman down to second. Lacey Gilbertson falling down into 3rd place. Betty's watching in Ontario. Heather Piat-Fisher, regular watcher, watching in Pennsylvania. Andy watching in Western Canada, another regular. And Team USA, such an exciting time for them. So much young talent coming through, and Madison Gottsman certainly falls into that category. She joins us now with a horse called Prestigious. Maddie's just 19 years of age. We've seen her in the Young Rider Nations Cups with this horse. So lots of top 10 finishes at Spruce Meadows as well. And she is the first one to take on the challenge of Shane Sweetenham. 67.30. See just how tight and clean and tidy she is there. Gets a great angle as she cuts across the upright. Steen Nielsen says, great round, Shane. Dolores Ruth, how sweet was that, Shane? Yeah, Shane doing a great job. He's got some really nice horses at the moment. Not sure if he's really safe at the top of that leaderboard, though. You know, we've got some quick ones to come. Maddie here taking some of the slightly tighter turns. But when this girl wants to ride against the clock, she really does go for it. So then I think she's putting in these economic rounds, but just keeping it in mind about, you know, the other competitions that will be taking place here this weekend, including the Longines FEI Jumping World Cup New York, which is the second World Cup qualifier in the North American League. Got about 7.5 seconds to make it home. And just taking a little check down to the last. Not far away, and she's faster actually, 66.84. Madison Getzman, Prestigious. Those tight turns are so deceptive, you know, when she turned back a few of those uprights, that really does shave off some seconds. Scary to think I've seen that combination go even faster than that, though. Madison Getzman leads, Shane Sweetenham second, Sydney Shulman down into 3rd. Brian Mowbray getting set up, ready to get underway. We were just talking about, you know, how many nice young riders Team USA have got, and Brian's only a similar age to Madison. He's about 19 or 20, if that actually. But boy, is he been doing well. In the last kind of year, we've seen him win World Cups. We've seen him win at Spruce Meadows. He had 2 wins actually at Spruce Meadows with this horse over their summer series between June and July. Remember as well, if you are watching on Facebook Live or YouTube, make sure you hit that share button. Let all your friends know that they can watch as well. If you want to keep an eye on any of the backstage gossip or videos, you can like the FEI Jumping Facebook page, the American Gold Cup Facebook page, and if you want to follow me on Instagram, you can do that at Adam Cromarty as well. I'll be posting lots of pictures over the weekend. But just look at how tidy Brian is riding against the clock here with this horse. It's a horse he really trusts. You know, he can place this pretty much anywhere. Just gets it up in the air, comes back to him. It's very adjustable. He can open this horse up, he can shorten it where he needs to. You see him just opening up nice and tight here, a couple of strides straight, and he's over. 66.84 time to beat. Matty Gottsman leads the way at this stage. Now he has to really go though if he wants to try and take over the top honours. Jumps the last, just slightly steadier, 67.11. Brian Mulgrew then heading into second place, pushes Shane Sweetenham down to third. Madison Gottsman still leads at the moment though. Nice one there from Brian.
There's courtesy of Stoller, but a little later on at 3:30 now, courtesy of Karina. There is the Karina E3 event. It starts at 3:30.
From the USA, we're going to be going to Canada next. Erin Ballard making her way forward now. Cerdano. This is a brand new ride for Erin. She took it to the Hampton Classic as their first international show together, then brought it here.
So once again to Canada now with Ilan Furber's Quintano and the Visual Purpose. It's Erin Ballard, Canada.
Wynne Schmidt says, I'm from New York, wish I was there, I'm so close. Well, depending on traffic, Wynne, you could probably get here by the end of the competition, but there's lots going on over the weekend. On Saturday, we've got the Hermes Cellier Cup, we've got the Fidelity Investments Classic, and then on Sunday at 2 o'clock, the Longines FEI Jumping World Cup New York, presented by Captive One Advisors. And I have to say, the atmosphere here is always electric on World Cup Day, so if you can, do come down and join us. Digital Horse says, amazing young rider, such an inspiration, and she's sharing to the digital horse community in the UK. Well, thanks for doing that. Erin's underway. She's had a great campaign with her string over the last couple of months. You know, we saw her at the Pan Am Games, part of that team that finished 4th and qualified Canada for the Olympics in Tokyo. Then she took that same horse to Spruce Meadows, where she jumped the $3 million Grand Prix. But today, this is a horse she's still really getting to know, and you can see that is the way she's riding around this course. You know, going a little bit slower, going slightly wider than she normally would. Sue Patterson's on YouTube saying it's the middle of the night, but still watching. Well, hopefully you can stay awake, Sue. About 54 left to go in this one. Erin has that fence. Won't be too disappointed though, as I say, you know, still really getting to know that horse. Finishes on 4, 76.96. Erin Ballard there with Cerdano for Canada. Peter Jordan now. Orage Z. Mainly based in Wellington these days, but, you know, like all these riders, out travelling all the time. He's got a couple of nice ones at the moment with Eurythmic, C Musique, and this one as well. He's had it a couple of years now. It's just setting up, getting a nice rhythm. Peter's been a part of the US jumping scene for many, many years. One of the regular faces. Prue saying clearly a good horse, talking about Erin Ballard's one, that new one. He'll She's riding for Ilan Ferder these days, and he produces, buys and sells so many horses. So I'm not sure quite how long she'll have that one, whether it's going to be a keeper or one that's just been in to be produced. Ellery says, might sound like a weird question, but what is the height of these fences? Out there, they're going to be between 1.50 m and maybe just a touch smaller. So 1.45 m competition, so they will have some at 145, but with the amount of horses that's in there, they're going to be up near 150, you know, looking at 148, 159, 149 maybe. This is not the start to Peter's round that he was hoping for. Sitting on the 12 at the moment. Looks like he's just maybe rebalancing there. See, after he put that circle in and rebalanced, the horse is listening to him quite well now. And for him, this is all about schooling now. He knows he's out of contention. You know, he's got no chance of picking up any prize money today. So he's just thinking about the next time that they'll be out. You know, it might be tomorrow, so he wants the horse to be finishing better than it started. But he's kind of pulled out there, I think. Going to call it a day. Peter Jordan with Orage Z. Quick recap of our leaderboard as things stand then. Madison Gottsman leads, Brian Mowbray sitting in second, and Shane Sweetenham in third, 66.84. See the ground crew out there doing a great job as well. Just flattening out any rivets that come into this turf. See, the weather yesterday was absolutely perfect. It was so warm, and today it's been a bit kind of cloudy, a little bit rainy. But we are told it's going to be quite warm and sunny tomorrow, which is great news. Can work on that suntan. Right, let's get Alberto Michan underway. Represents Israel. Many of you will know Alberto if you follow the sport of show jumping. He's been around a long time now. He used to ride for Mexico, then switched to Israel in 2018, and that's another team that's really building up strength. You've got some great riders. Daniel Blumen riding for Israel now. We've got Ashley Bond as well, and what a string she's got coming through. Alberto's brother Daniel also rides. Alberto himself, though, a two-time Olympian. He's been to 3 World Equestrian Games, 2 World Cup finals. And this is such a nice young horse. This is just an 8-year-old. Spy up to date out of an animal mare. And believe it or not, this horse has only been to 1 international show before. You can see Alberto having to work quite hard in place. He's just making those adjustments. But you'd expect that with a young horse. He was bred in the Netherlands, then came over here. Yeah, and just finishes with the 8 faults today, 72.51. Maybe looked a touch strong at times, but you know, Alberto does a great job with these younger horses, and just 8 years old, second competition, comes into this big Grand Prix field, plenty to look at, and just comes home on the 8. 52 partnerships still to come forwards here. Leslie Bell-Teeter now watching as well. Islam Yasser says the best page ever. Well, thanks for being with us, Aslam. And if you are watching, do hit share, do hit like. You can follow FEI Jumping on Facebook. You can follow the event on Facebook, the American Gold Cup. Plenty of information on there. If you want to follow me on Instagram, my name's Adam Cromarty, and I'll be posting lots of pictures as the weekend continues. Anyway, back to the action once again. Margie Angle coming next. She is simply amazing. She's been to 17 World Cup finals. She's been to the Olympics. She's been to the World Equestrian Games. Margie herself is 5'1", This horse is 18-1. But what a year she's having. Won a Grand Prix over in Europe with this horse just a few weeks ago. And this horse is pretty amazing. It kind of anticipates what Margie's wanting. You know, if she thinks I need to move up, the horse moves up. If she needs to turn a little bit tighter, it just curls up for her. And she's always competitive. Steen Nielsen saying on Facebook Live, I love Dikas. He is a class horse. And down in the barn, he is so playful. He's laid back. He's just a happy kind of horse. Puts everything in his mouth. Most of which he shouldn't. If you leave anything standing next to his stable, he'll be picking it up and trying to throw it. He's so playful. Great horse. See Margie really pushing him forward there. Andy Lafontaine says, gigantic horse, love it. It's the fact that she's so small as well, but what a great job she does with him. 70.51, really setting him up for later in the weekend today, but heads into fifth on a clear. Margie Engel and Dikas. Quite possibly a partnership we'll see here in the Longines FEI Jumping World Cup New York, taking place here this Sunday. Captive One Advisors, of course, our presenting sponsor for the 2019 American Gold Cup. Paul O'Shea coming forward next. Based in Florida these days, but again, travels all over, and he's worked with some big names over the years, including Rolf Goran Benson. This is a rider who represented his country at the World Equestrian Games last year. Quite a new one for Polo. Added to his string earlier in the year, but already well travelled. You know, he featured at Falsterbo, he had top 10 finishes at Dublin, top 10 finishes at Hickstead, and now back over here in North America. So many Irish riders have made a great business for themselves over here. Sophie Diggins talking about Margie on YouTube Live and saying she really likes the big ones. Yeah, all their horses seem to have been big over the years, don't they? Sherlock Watson saying he has adorable white socks, love chestnuts. Got a nice rhythm, this horse. You can just see those tiny adjustments that Paul makes. And jumps it clear. 74.35 there for Paul O'Shea. Scara Glens Chanceleres heads into sixth place, into sixth at the moment. 7 clears we've had, 15 gone so far. And it's the young riders at the top. Madison Getzman, 66.84 leads. Brian Mowgray sitting in second, 67.11. And then Shane Sweetenham, who's probably not in that young category anymore. Sorry, Shane. But he sits in third after posting a very good round in 67.30. So that's how the top 3 look at this stage. Mariano Maggi comes next, Quintago VA. Mariano trains Uma O'Neill. He's based with Uma as well. Mariano's wife and daughter are both ridden and competed. And if you are watching online, if you're on Facebook or you're on YouTube, you can get involved with the conversation. If there's any questions you want to ask, I'll try and answer them for you. Oh, it just catches the front rail on that oxer there. If you have just joined us, this is the Stoller Welcome Stake here at the American Gold Cup. American Gold Cup forming one of the 14 legs of the North American World Cup League. We'll see that qualifier here on Sunday, but plenty of other competition to enjoy as well. So thank you for joining us today for this one. It's a one-round competition, by the way, as well, if you've just joined us. So no jump off in this one. It's all about leaving them up and going quick in the first round. Comes down towards the last. Four faults it is, 73.26. Going to be the fastest of the four fault round, so that'll take him into 9th place. That'll have been in the back of his head as well, trying to be the fastest four, because, you know, that might just be good enough to pick up some money, but we do have about 49 left to come, and we've already got 7 clear. So I would imagine if you want to be in the money here, you have got to leave them all up and be quite quick. Leslie Howard, the two-time Olympian, coming next with the 11-year-old mare by Cavalier. This is out of a Concord mare, this one. This is Donna Special. Last time out, winners of the Grand Prix in Rockwood, Ontario. She jumped this at Spruce Meadows over the summertime. Breer saying, in her opinion, cleaner is better than faster. Why risk getting more faults? That's true, Breer. It's always good to be clean rather than have faults, but this is a one-round competition. So if you are in this as a competitive rider today, because we did mention earlier, some people will be setting up further competitions over the weekends, but if you are being competitive, being a steady clear might not get you in that lineup. So it's all really about risk and reward. You know, the faster you go, the more risk there is. You see Leslie just had a little rub there coming over the Oxer. But really, you want to be pushing forward, and then if you have that rail near the beginning, you can open up and try and be the fastest four. It's all about gambling and all about risk and reward. Whoa. It's a little bit sticky off the ground coming to the Hermes there, and Leslie says, come on, get straight, get up. You can see Leslie probably felt that a couple of strides out, and she tried to make as many little adjustments as she can, and then just lost a shoe there. And they really need shoes when they're right here, because, you know, they wear those studs. They help give them extra grip and traction around the turns. So it's not quite the day Leslie was hoping for. 8 faults, but 66.02. That kind of proves the time can be beaten. You know, Madison Getzman, who leads, she's on 66.84. So she shaved off about 0.8 of a second there. Leslie might be off to just collect her shoe on the way out. Dorothy Douglas next, MTM through the looking glass. Horse has been very consistent for her recently.
So in fact it's going to be Dorothy Douglas. Dorothy joining us now with the Davenport Farms MTM through the looking glass. We'll follow, we'll keep to follow. But Dorothy Douglas for the USA through the looking glass.
If you are new to the sport, you probably heard the bell there, and they've actually got a 45-second countdown. So if they don't start within those 45 seconds, the clock will automatically start. And there's a good chance they'll either be really slow and within the time, but most likely just over the time allowed if that does happen. So as soon as they hear the bell, they've got to have it in the back of their head that they've only got 45 seconds to get round. And you can see there as Dorothy jumps over the vertical, the horse was already drifting towards the left, and she had to try and straighten it up, but she did that in the last couple of strides, and I think they just didn't have the distance when they arrived at the Oxer there. And it comes down as well, so now sits on 8. Again, just making those little adjustments around the corner, using her upper body down the distance. Whoa, a little bit sticky off the ground again there. And then comes down towards that final fence. So, you know, had that issue there at the Oxer with the refusal and takes it down as well. But in the end, it's going to be 12 there for Dorothy Douglas, riding for the USA, MTM through the looking glass, 91.12.
Another for the USA, Lily Keenan now with Sky Horses by Calvert, keyed up the Ravel lines as well. Team individual gold medalist, Killian Ryder ranks, contending very well in 5-star competition.
In the year 2525 says on YouTube Live that they love Spruce Meadows course designs. Well, if you're watching the Masters this year, they were designed by Leopoldo Palacios. He's the resident course designer there. He had a great team with him, I have to say, but he did such a tremendous job in that big $3 million Grand Prix. Alan Wade is building here though, and Alan definitely is one of the best in the world, but also one of the favourites when it comes to the riders as well. Lily Keenan now, Sky Horse. Another one that's based with McLean Ward at the moment, just down the road, about 10 minutes away from here. Lily's trained a lot over the years with Cian O'Connor. I was jumping double clears with this horse at Spruce Meadows during the summer series and just missed out on having a win. She really was knocking on the door there. Sherlock Watson says, might not be paying attention, but is the gate near the first fence? Yeah, absolutely is. It's that Longines Oxer down the bottom. Lily's such a nice, tidy rider. You find that a lot with the riders over here. You know, most of them start in equitation and, you know, sort of progress on to jumpers, or start in hunters and progress to jumpers. So they are very, very tidy with their upper body and very still as well. Lily just using this as a bit of a setup for competitions later in the weekend here. She's going to pick up some time faults, but that won't worry her at all. You know, this is the job that she came into the ring to do today. Just to jump round, give it a nice look at all the fences, get a feeling for how the ground is. Finishes on 2, 85.36, 2 there for Lily Keenan and Sky Horse. So heads into 9th place at this stage.
No puedo coger teléfono, comadre. No lo puedo coger. Ven y ring.
Roberto Turan making his final preparations out there.
No puedo coger teléfono.
This is a horse that's been to the Bulgarian Games with a different rider. It's a new one for Roberto this year. He's up at Traverse City at the Great Lakes Equestrian Festival in Michigan. Some nice placings there, some top 10 finishes. Roberto's ridden so many horses over the years though, so this is quite a new one to him. You know, he's got to know it really quickly. Just that roll back turn from 1 to 2 there. So sits on 4 at this early stage. Although he's been campaigning this at the Great Lakes Equestrian Festival, the ring there is really, really big, but it's a sand ring as well. And it's not often they get the opportunity to ride on grass these days when you think of the kind of shortness of grass arenas, not just here in North America, but also around the world as well. Apart from the big iconic ones like Spruce Meadows and Hickstead and Dublin. Your kind of regular show circuit now on all on artificial surface, and it does change the way it rides. And also there's a little bit of undulation in here as well. You know, the ring goes up, the ring goes down. It's kind of hilly here and it's not hilly there. But Roberto's got tons of experience with that. It's quite a big horse as well, so you have to try and contain that energy. Forward for jumping, taking down the second fence on course, picks up a time fault as well. So a total of 5 there for Roberto Turan and Diablo, 79.21. Alexandra's just joined us watching in Norway. Don't think there's any Norwegians competing here. You'll have to cheer on some other country, I'm afraid. La Vida Cars saying how many Mexicans are showing today. A few. I haven't actually counted, but there are Mexicans riding in this competition today, so you are represented here. This is Andrew Wells out there. Serpico coming forward next. His wife Alexandra rides nationally, and this is a horse that Trevor Breen's actually been campaigning over in Europe with placings in Valkenswaard, but then Andrew took over the ride once again, took the horse to Spruce Meadows, he placed there. Let's see what he's going to pull out the bag today. It's 66.84 to beat. Madison Getzman leads, Brian Mowgray second, Shane Sweetenham sitting in third. Sandra Gomez says, does anyone know how many are left? I do. There's 44 left. Gloria said, did I miss Margie? You did, Gloria. Where were you? How could you miss her? But I think you can actually scroll back and watch again. So if you've missed anything, you can do that. Andrew just having that early rail on course here. Again, this is a real serious type of a horse. Just having another one there as well, actually. And I think he'd be quite competitive as the days continue here at the American Gold Cup. Gloria said she just jumped on. Well, don't leave us, Gloria. Make sure you stay with us. We'll get lonely without you. Andrew making that adjustment down there. Sits on 8 as he comes down towards this final fence. Yeah, I'm going to finish on 8 today. 78.16, 8 falls there for Andrew Wells and Serpico for the USA. 7 clears we've had so far. Madison Getzman leads, Brian Mowgray second, and Shane Sweetenham sitting in third. So that's our top 3 at this stage. Santiago Lambry now, Dingerman. Another of the athletes we're going to see here this afternoon that has represented their country at the Olympic Games. Been quite a good year for him with this horse. He's had wins at Tryon, he's had wins at Socrates, which isn't too far away. This is an 11-year-old by Contender. It was bred in the Netherlands. These early fences just catching some of the riders out today. I think Alan Wade, the course designer, though, has done a great job. Looks like he's going to surrender, though. Santiago Lambry decides to retire, gives this signal to the ground jury. And another signal, because I don't think they saw the first one. There we go. And that's a horse that he knows really well. It's been on such great form recently, and it certainly doesn't need the experience. So when he had those unlucky, or that unlucky rail, he knew he was out of contention, and probably wants to just save that for another day. Charlie Jacobs next in. Represents the USA. Briore Extez is a 10-year-old stallion by Casal. Charlie's just been adding to his string this year. He's got a couple of nice horses coming through. This one's a old rider, Patrick Van de Shans, then William Greve head at this as well. But Charlie's been a part of the sport for many years. his family-owned Deer Ridge Farm in Palm Beach. That's where the Longines FEI Jumping World Cup Wellington is held. That'll be at the early part of 2020. It's always so interesting to see these new horses, you know, just how long it takes to get to know them and then just watch them kind of grow and grow. But Charlie's home farm's immaculate. And technically speaking, Charlie would still be an amateur rider over here. He doesn't do this as a business. He's the CEO of the Boston Bruins team. So a real kind of sportsman, but you know, has that real job in the city, and this is a kind of hobby. A hobby he spends a lot of time at, I have to say, but when you take that into account, you know, it's just so good to see the results that he does get. So at the moment, time to beat 66.84. Just catches that with his back legs. So we'll just finish on the 4:71.02 there. Charlie Jacobs for the USA. Briorek stays. Charlie's very analytical though, so he'll be back to, you know, think about that, think about how the horse went, what he's going to do in the future. But it's a brand new one on his string. I think that's going to be one to keep an eye on. Harry Schmolder's joining us now, currently ranked number 13 on the Longines World Rankings. An athlete that's been to the Olympics, been to the World Cup finals, been to the Nation Cup finals. This is an 11-year-old mare by Cardento called Doolan. This is one that Sayre Happy, a rider from the US, used to ride. Then Jen Gates took over the ride. Jen Gates is actually trained by Harry. So Harry's ridden it a bit, Jen's ridden it a bit. But Jen Gates has just started medical school. So hasn't got quite as much time as she used to have. Harry's a real nice rider to watch though, so tidy, so effective. He spent a lot of years riding with Axel Verlooy and the team over there. Anne says, is it possible to get some information about commentating? How much preparation do you need for such a competition, getting to know horses and riders? And how much of what you say do you already know before? You try to do as much preparation as possible, Anne, because especially when you've not got someone sitting with you. You know, if I had a rider sitting here, it's always easier because you can ask questions and you can chat back and forward. But I've got to do enough preparation to make sure that you don't get bored listening to my voice for 2.5 hours. So for something like this, you know, you're talking hours just to make sure you've got results and stuff, and also chatting to the riders. What does help though is I travel so much to many of the top shows now that it tends to be all the same riders. And you just kind of get to know them and get to know the horses and their backstories and stuff. Harry Smolder, 72.84 there with Doolan. Again, setting that horse up for later in the weekend. It's an ultra competitive horse, that one. Breer says, are there any Australians today? I don't think there are, Breer. There's someone from New Zealand, and I know that's not the same, but it's quite close-ish. No change to that top three then. Madison Getzman, Brian Mowgray, and Shane Sweetenham. 66.84 is that time to beat. Here's Shane Sweetenham back with another ride. Chacky Z, second ride for him. Of course, he's also coaching Lacey Gilbertson, who we saw jump a little bit earlier. This is the horse he took to the World Equestrian Games, took it to the Europeans in 2017. And more recently, actually, finished top 10 in the Grand Prix at the Hampton Classic. Anne was also saying how much of what you say do you already know before. Well, there's no scripts, Anne, as you could probably tell. So you've got some notes about results and stuff to make sure they're right. But other than that, you kind of make it up as you go along. Hopefully you can't tell. There's an interview on World of Show Jumping that I just did last weekend, though, so you want to find out more, rather than me talking about myself when we're meant to be watching these horses, you can maybe have a look at that. I started in radio and then went to television, though, so I'm kind of used to my radio days where you sat in a box and talked to yourself for a few hours a day. That probably helps. So Shane Sweetenham on track with this second ride. You can see just how steady he's going again, using this to set the horse up for later in the weekend. This is, you know, one of the more experienced horses that we're going to see out here today. As I mentioned, been to World Equestrian Games, been to European Championships. So he's given the horse a chance just to have a good look round here, see some of the obstacles that will feature, as I'm sure he'll have his sights set on the World Cup qualifier later this weekend. Alexandra says she's going to medical school as well. I mentioned Jen Gates was going, so Alexandra's off there as well, and she's going to be a psychiatrist. I feel like I'm being psychoanalyzed. I'm going to have to watch what I'm saying. Already, though, Shane is on the time fault. We knew that was going to be the case. We saw that when he kind of set the pace towards the start. And it's going to be 3-time faults in the end. 90.17 for Shane Sweetenham, Chaki Z. No change to that leaderboard at this stage. Deirdre says, go on, Harry Smolders, sending your support for Harry. Well, I think he's a strong contender when it comes to the Longines FEI Jumping World Cup New York here on Sunday. Kelly Edwards watching in California. Andy Lafontaine says, love that I say Z. Yeah, that's a bit of a kind of British thing. Over here they would say Z. I spend my life trying to convert them. This is Hardin Towel next. Carlo. He's someone that trains a lot of riders over here. Follows his parents into the sport, of course. Might you noticed on his graphic there, his first name's Jack. Well, his dad's name's Jack as well, so he actually goes by Hardin. We've seen him at the World Cup finals before. He took a horse called Lucifer. That's ridden by Niall Nassar these days. This is an interesting horse, actually, because it's one that Todd Minikis, Aaron Vale, and Matt Cohen have all ridden in the past. Harlan's doing a great job, though. He's third at Spruce Meadows with this horse. To win at the Great Lakes Equestrian Festival, and just having that one early rail so far here today. But it's quite a rhythmical horse. You know, he's not chasing it. He's just sitting quiet. You can see how wide he was there. As I mentioned at the beginning of this competition, and once or twice since, this is going to be an interesting one in terms of we'll have some that are competitive and others that are using this as a bit of a setup for later in the weekend. So, you know, I think that's kind of what Hardin's thoughts were when he came in here today. Finishes on 4:76.71 the time. Hardin Towell and Carlo for the USA.
76.71 down the leaderboard. We've seen 8 clear rounds so far, and still Madison Youngsman is pretty on top of the leaderboard for the USA in 66.
So no change to that leaderboard. Luis's horse there just kind of spinning round a little bit, revving the engine perhaps. Luis Francisco de Azevedo now, Colin. It's a great horse name, it's one I can pronounce. Luis Francisco rides for Brazil. It's a 12-year-old gelding by Calandro out of an Amethyst mare, this one. He's got bases in Belgium, but also on home soil over in Rio. Represented his country at the World Equestrian Games last year. Certainly not off to the start he was hoping for. Horse just showing a little bit of resistance when it came into the ring. And I have to say, this is a horse he knows inside out, because he brought it all the way through the young horse competitions. And he's produced it all the way up through the grades. Starting to settle down and listen a little bit more. And just catches the back rail on the Hermes. We're going to see about 5 more horses, and they're going to take a short break to roll this arena. Slightly harder to freshen up the ground conditions when you are jumping on grass. Although I have to say, I do love the big grass arenas. You might just caught that as well coming out. That'll be a real frustrating round for him. Certainly not like that horse, I have to say. 17 total, 95.36 for Luis Francisco de Azevedo and Colin. As I mentioned, you know, he's produced that horse all the way up the grades. He'll definitely be disappointed with that. This is Alex Granato. This horse has such a unique white face. Elke van der Horst, name of this one. This is a ride Alex took over in the middle of June. Denise Wilson had been campaigning it before that. 10-year-old mare by Berlin, out of a Voltaire mare this one, so certainly bred to jump. Alex had an interesting way into the sport actually, because when he started to ride, he took Western riding lessons. Quickly changed over though, and now has been just about to say going from strength to strength, and then he just catches that vertical and then the oxer, and that's a bit of a domino effect down there. You know, unless you've got the canter and the horse listening to you as you come into the vertical. I know it looks like there's a little bit of space there, but the questions come so quickly. He's only been riding this a few months now. He might be about to... I thought he was going to retire, but he's not. He's just using the space to get the horse balanced. It's always a difficult decision whether to retire or not. I think he is going to retire this one. You know, in a way, he's only had this since June. He's still getting to know it. But on the other hand, you know, if the horse isn't listening and you're sitting coming down to fences that are 1.45 to 1.50 out there, you know, you kind of want the feeling that you've got the canter, you've got the control, and it's listening to you. Madison Getzman's got to be getting nervous by now because she's still holding on to that lead, 66.84. Brian Mowgray still second on a 67.11, and Shane Sweetenham ranked in third on 67.30. This would be a crowd favourite here, Georgina Bloomberg. We're in New York, she's from New York. Real local favourite, and this is a 9-year-old stallion by Coleman, Tulara Colmine. New one on her string for 2019. And she really has been building up her string. You know, she's got Manhattan that's been doing really well for her, but then also adding in Cessna and Shamur as well. Had a good start to her campaign. A few placings yesterday. Karma Queen says, is there a limit to how often someone can retire? Well, obviously only once per competition, because then you're out. But other than that, no, absolutely not. If you want to enter every day, jump the first fence and retire, not sure why you would, but nope, certainly no limit to how many times that you can do that. Pip Hoskin says it's about 150-ish, this competition. It is about 150-ish, I think you're right. Some of the fences out there at 1.45 m, some of them, you know, a little bit bigger, 147, 148. Sue Patterson says, just loves to hear a Scottish accent. Thanks, Sue. I don't get to go to Scotland very often. I actually live in Manchester now in England, but my parents are still in Scotland, so I get up there occasionally. I mentioned what a great start Georgina had to her campaign yesterday, and you can see just how well she's getting on with these new horses. Again, not riding for the win today, riding for the clear. 77.44. Georgina Bloomberg to Lara Colmine for the USA. Does make the top 10 though, heads into 9th place. Quite a spread, you know, about 9 or 10 seconds between the top 9 at the moment. I'm sure that is going to close. That gap will get narrower as things continue here. Georgina just doing a little touch of school in there at the end of her round, setting up for tomorrow. Now we go to Lauren Tisbo. Her sport growing up was actually football, fun fact, but then kind of started riding and realised that when you're riding and want to compete, there's not much time for anything else. She's got a 10-year-old mare in this one, called Jelena Demuse. She's been campaigning in Traverse City all summer long, had some nice second place finishes there. And it's a rider, you know, that started this horse off, Lorenzo De Luca. He had this through the young horse competitions before Lauren took over the ride. Oliver says, do I have a favourite horse on the circuit? There's so many nice ones at the moment. Beezy Madden's got a really nice one called Dari Lou. That was the horse that she had at Spruce Meadows. She just won the $3 million Grand Prix with that horse. But I have to say, it looks like a little chunky monkey. You know, it's a chestnut horse, it's got a bit of a flaxen mane and tail, and it's just such a happy horse. She can jump a $3 million Grand Prix, and as soon as she's finished, she can go on a long rein, and it just is chilled out right away. So that's one of my favourites on the circuit at the moment, but there's so many nice ones. Oh, a little wiggle down that line. Just keeping that kind of forward seat, just allowing him to flow forward, and she'll be quite happy with that round. 72.54 is the time. Going to take her into 6th place. 6 for Lauren Tisbo, Jelena Demuse. Pushes Harry Smolders down into 7th place. That was quite smooth. She had to make those little adjustments here and there just to think about the straightness. So overall, really smooth and making the top 6. Now, we were talking earlier about the amount of young talents here. You know, we've got Madison Gottsman leading the way, Brian Mowgray sitting 2nd, and this is Brian Mowgray coming forward once again. MTM Los Angeles this time. And this horse is just 7 years old. It's by Los Angeles. And we saw this at Spruce Meadows over the summertime. They've just introduced, for the first time ever, a young horse series. And that really helped this horse just grow and grow and grow. And, you know, Spruce is known for those big grass arenas. So being on grass today certainly won't be daunting for this 7-year-old. Brian's not only been successful in the jumpers, also in the hunters and the equitation. But he's quite tall. And those taller riders really need that core strength just to control their upper body. And you can see he does that just perfectly. So has a rail down, a little bit frustrating for him. 68.09, time would have been good enough for 5th place, but with that rail it pushes him down into 14th. But it's just a 7-year-old. I mean, that is such an exciting horse for him. Quick reminder, if you are watching on Facebook Live or YouTube, let us know where you're watching. You can also get involved with the conversation as well. Let me know what you think about any of the rounds. If you've got any questions, you can get those in there as well. If you have just joined us, I'm Adam Cromarty. Thanks so much for being with us today as we enjoy the stellar Welcome Stake. You can follow FEI YouTube. You can follow FEI Jumping on Facebook. There's going to be lots of videos there. Someone asked earlier about an interview with the course designer. Well, that will be online on Saturday. So if you follow FEI Jumping, if you want to hear from Alan Wade and what he has in store when we get to the qualifier on Sunday, we'll have a chat with him on Saturday, so that'll be posted there. You can follow me on Instagram as well. It's just at Adam Cromarty. Right, let's get the next one on track. This is Richie Maloney joining us now, which is quite good timing because Martin Michael Hayes has just said he's watching from Innis in Ireland. And here is one of your countrymen coming forward, Miss Guito, the 12-year-old gelding by Cicero Z. Richie based here now and got a great business, along with so many of the Irish riders actually, down in Florida. It's like having a little mini Ireland. A few have caught that fence. I think it might just be the angle coming out, you know, behind the table. You can see Richie just using his left leg as he came down to the vertical, just to try and squeeze the horse straight. Still just on that single early rail at this stage. You can see just how well he keeps it balanced. He sees the strides. And is just going to come home on for jumping, but with a time fault, it's 5:79.20. 5 the total there for Richie Maloney, Mercutio. So just a touch over at the halfway stage. We've got 33 combinations left to come forward. You can see the ring crew kind of jumping into action there, taking the rails out of the fences, and they're going to bring a roller into the ring just to, you know, get the takeoff and landings being back to how it was when we started the competition. Something you always have to do with these grass arenas. You know, it's so important to maintain them. A little bit like you would if there was a surface, you drag the harrow around, but because it's grass, they're going to bring a roller in. Been some great rounds so far though in this one. Madison Getzman, she still leads though, 66.84. Brian Mowbray sits in second. We've got Shane Sweetenham down in third place. Sydney Shulman fourth. Margie Engel fifth. Lauren Tisbo sixth. Harry Smolders in seventh. Paul O'Shea eighth. Lacey Gilbertson in ninth. And then Georgina Bloomberg in 10th. So that's the top 10 at this stage here in the Stellar Welcome Stake. Quick reminder, if you do live nearby, make sure you come and join us as the weekend kind of continues. We've got the Hermes Cellier Cup coming at 11 o'clock on Saturday, the Fidelity Investment Classic 1 o'clock on Saturday, and then 2 p.m. on Sunday, the Longines FEI Jumping World Cup New York, presented by Captive One Advisors. So that's definitely worth coming to watch. Always a good atmosphere, and there's entertainment and loads of family activities as well. So great to have you with us if you're watching around the world. But if you are local, make sure you get yourself down here. And it's been a great year so far, I have to say. They're putting a great effort. You know, the Captive One Advisors leading open jumping rider bonus, that's something that's brand new. That's going to be awarded to the leading rider who accumulates the most placings in competitions with $25,000 or more in prize money. So that is going to be a real interest for our riders, because, you know, quite a few of them are competing all day, every day. So that gives them that little extra to kind of work towards. Having a look at what's still to come in this competition though, we've got Uma O'Neill, she's got a great horse coming forward. Adrian Sternlick with a second ride, she's a local just down the road. McLean Ward, one of the best in the world. BZ Madden, after that wonderful win just last weekend, coming with 2 horses in this one actually. One of the horses that she's got is an old rider, Steve Gerda. Charlie Jacobs, we saw him earlier, he'll be back with his World Cup final horse, Cassinia. Hilary McNerney's on great form, and Kristen van der Veen, who started her campaign yesterday here and put in some great performances. So they are all still to feature here in this one-round competition that is running directly against the clock. Once again, if you are watching on Facebook or on YouTube Live, great to have you with us. Make sure you hit that share button. Make sure you follow the American Gold Cup and FEI Jumping's Facebook page as well. There's going to be tons of backstage stuff on there. You can also follow me on Facebook. You can follow me on Instagram. It's really simple. It's just Adam Cromarty. You'll find me on there as well, and I'll try and post lots of behind-the-scenes type stuff as well. So great to have you with us. Remember to hit that share button, hit the like button. And we are just taking a very short break, but you can see the leaderboard on screen now. Madison Getzman, just 20 years of age, I think. 66.84, her kind of leading time, but could it be the winning time? Brian Mowbray, again, only 19, 67.11, sitting second. Shane Sweetnam in third, Sydney Shulman in fourth. So that's our top four at this stage. See the roller just taking care of the takeoff and landings there. And we are just going to take a little short break here. I'm going to quickly grab a drink. Why don't you do the same? We'll be back here in about 5 minutes' time. Welcome back then to the second half of the Stoller Welcome Stake here at the American Gold Cup for 2019. For those that have just tuned in, quick recap of that leaderboard. Madison Getzman leads the way, 66.84, time to be beaten. Brian Mulgrew sitting second on a 67.11, and Shane Sweetenham in third place, 67.30. We can see those rails are back in now. We've had the roller go round, just freshens the grounds up a little bit, and we'll be back underway. Some big names still to feature here in this one. 33 combinations left to come forward, and 66.84 time to be beaten. Devin Ryan is out there somewhere. He is going to be our next to go. It's been quite a good 12 months for him. He was part of the team that went to try on to the World Equestrian Games last year and picked up a gold there. That was with a horse called Eddie Blue. Today it's a different one. Casper's Licino and Devin Ryan to get us back underway for the United States of America. He's based in Long Valley, New Jersey, so not a million miles away from here. Trains and coaches a lot of riders as well. Quick warning, actually, if you are watching online, I noticed on Facebook there was a couple of links that kind of dodgy websites have put on to say that you can watch the stream there and they'll ask for your credit card details. You do not have to do that. The only way to watch is on Facebook Live or on the FEI YouTube channels. So make sure you don't give your credit card details out or try to watch on any other sites. That is the only official and free places that you can watch the competition over the weekend here. But Devin off to a great start here with this horse. I should also mention as well that the other competitions are available on the USEF network, the ones that aren't covered by the FEI YouTube and Facebook channels. This is a horse he's had in Socrates, campaigning it there. Had a couple of unlucky rails news in Socrates with it actually. Same in Upperville. Jumped this in the Grand Prix in Upperville. Really like this horse's colouring. I know that sounds completely ridiculous to say, but the flea bit and greys are always so nice. Gets it clear today, 71.66. We'll have to have a look at our leaderboard then, see where that's going to slot in. Takes him into 6th place. Devin Ryan goes 6th at this stage. Just goes to show how fast Madison Getzman went earlier to set that standard for us here. Alan Wade's done a great job with this track. He's our course designer. Certainly plenty of questions out there, but also plenty of options as well for those that are riding this competitively today and not just having a warm-up for the weekend. This is Lily Keenan next. We saw her earlier. She just picked up a couple of time faults with her first ride. Now back with Agana van de Grandelzad. Swings them around the back of the table there, straightens up through the distance. Yeah, super job there from Lily. She's got some amazing horses at the moment. You know, Sky Horse that we saw earlier, Faster, Chacolette, IKEA. We saw her ride IKEA earlier in the summer as well. Good to see this one back out actually. It was jumping the young horse competitions at Oplebeek last summer. So a bit of time off from international competition, but now definitely back out on form. Just sits on the 4 then, coming down towards that final fence. 70.42, the time was good enough for 5th. That rail is pretty expensive. Moves her down 11 placings and into 16th. Char has just asked on YouTube Live, are some of the riders using this class as a warm-up or learning experience for the horse? Yes, they are, Char. This is something that we've sort of been discussing throughout the competition. It's a huge field today. We had about 60 riders, and I would say around about half of them will probably be using this as a bit of an introduction to the American Gold Cup for these horses. You know, so many sand surfaces, so many indoor competitions now if they've been jumping over in Europe or whatever. So they like to come into these big open grass rings, let them have a look at the fences, get used to the ground. So they'll be using this as a warm-up. But on the other hand, you're also going to have some that are really competitive. and it could go right to the wire in this one. So certainly stay with us. At the moment, 66.84 to beat. Rodrigo Pessoa on track, one of the Double H horses. Double H, Venice Beach. Rodent Razor says, I thought the show started at 11. I have no idea what time zone you're in. It did actually start a little bit earlier than planned. It was going to be at 2 o'clock. But then it started, that's local time of course, but it started at 12:30, and I think they were looking at the weather radar and just noticed a bit of wet weather coming this way, a little bit of rain. So I think they're trying to just move it a bit earlier, hopefully avoid too much rain. But the good news is the rest of the weekend is meant to be a bit of a scorcher. So make sure you stay with us throughout the weekend. It's going to have some great sport. They always do here at the American Gold Cup. Rodrigo not having the start to the round that he wanted with that early rail. Now sits on the 8 as he comes down towards that final line. And it's going to be 8 for him today. Finishes on 8, 72.10. Again, time would be good enough for top 10. A couple of rails, putting him out of all contention for prize money today. Top 6 remains the same. 66.84, still that challenge, still the time to beat.
This is his second round. It is 6:54. The third round from Mexico's.
That's Santiago Lambri. You can see he's back with a second horse. Dithago this time. Represents Mexico. Last time out he was jumping this in Socrates, and that was, literally about 3 or 4 days ago. I have to say these riders do such a great job of managing the horses' schedules, because there's just show after show after show. It just keeps going all year round. Gone are the days of, maybe 10 or 15 years ago, when you used to kind of rough your horses off a little bit for the winter or give them a break. When you're campaigning at this level, you just have to manage them so carefully all year round to make sure not to do too much. Seen a couple of riders ride this over the years. Antonio Maurer, Salvador Oñate, and now Santiago Lambri. Turbo Eventing said, what are the fences in this round? It's a 1.45 meter competition. There will be fences out there that are slightly bigger, getting up towards 1.50 meter. Also asking, is it a 5-star? This is a 4-star, this competition. Just has that vertical down fence, number 8 on course. You can see the horse is kind of swinging, and he had to kind of straighten it up through that bending line. Taking a little bit of a check here and saying, come on, just pay attention. Someone else asking for that leading time. Leading time at the moment, 66.84. That's Madison Getzman. She leads. 67.11 is second, and 67.30 is third. So that's how the times of the top 3 are looking. It's going to be 8 for jumping and 1 for time today. Santiago Lambri, 9 in 95.01. 28 combinations left to go.
Here's Pembroke. It's the second round for the USA's Edmonton.
Some big names still to feature. Adrian Sternlicht rejoining us. We saw her a little bit earlier with the first ride. Now comes back with a horse called Pembroke. Adrian's based with McLean Ward, and McLean's yard is about 10 minutes from here. Very local indeed. Sadly, due to the FEI rules, just because you live locally, you still have to stable here. They still have to be within the quarantine. Otherwise, I'm sure he would just be trucking to home and back every day. It'll be nice for him that he can actually sleep in his own bed while he's here. Adrian's become a real contender over the last few years, representing our country at the World Equestrian Games, part of that gold medal winning team last year. Sydney Shulman's older sister Amanda was her best friend growing up, so that's kind of how she got into it. She went to a play date at their house, sat on, loved it, and now here she is. It's always interesting to hear how they get into the sport. She just lost a shoe there, and that definitely could be costly. You know, when you're doing these rollback turns, you really need all your studs to be in place to give that traction. It's going well for her today. Ah, commentator curses she came in there, just catches the front rail. Oh, that's a shame, because the way that horse has been jumping, you know, at places like Great Lakes Equestrian Festival at Spruce Meadows over the summertime, she certainly deserved a clear there today. Will finish on 4, 71.37. Time good enough for 6. With the rail, it's down to 18th. Top 6 remains unchanged. Here's Natalie Dean for the USA, Don's Diamond. See that stars and stripes oxer. Great fence to have here at the American Gold Cup. But here's the first fence, the Longines oxer, to get them underway. Alan Naberer's now watching down in Ocala. Great to have you with us. Do let us know where you're watching from. Remember, and share the stream. Get involved with that conversation as well if you're watching on Facebook Live or YouTube Live. Oh, it just catches the front or that upright coming down the line. A few have done that actually. Looks like there's a lot of space to make adjustments down there, but the questions just come at you so quickly. This time's not looking bad. At 70.39, a real shame. Would have been good enough for 5th. That rail pushes her out of the money, down to 16th place. Remember, in FEI competition, there's always a minimum of 12 prizes. Even if there's only 6 entries, there's still a minimum of 12 prizes, and you would give the 7th to 1st, 8th to 2nd, and so on down the line to fill it. Always a minimum of 1 for 4 though today, but even with that, she'll still be out of the money, sadly. Kristen van der Veen goes next. What a summer she has had. She decided that she was going to go over and try competing in Europe. Made that decision, and then rather than thinking, well, you know, I'm going to try, I'll take a couple of horses, she took 6 with her. And she's been over there competing. I saw her, I think she just came over when we went to Lausanne in the middle of the summertime, and then from there, you know, she went on to Saint-Tropez, Ascona, Fontainebleau, and then came back just a few weeks ago. But straight back with her horses, straight to Socrates, and finished 7th in the Grand Prix with Bull Run's Risen. All her horses are Bull Runs. This is Bull Run's Festino d'Italie. This is one she had a win with actually over in Europe. That was at the beginning of August, about a month ago. And Kristen's always really competitive. And it's quite nice coming in the second half of the competition because I've had a chance to watch a few. They know where they can take turns. They know where they can make up some time. And although you make your plan when you walk the course, it's always nice to watch a couple. See what they saw that you didn't see when you were doing your course walk. And this horse is ultra adjustable. You saw that. It landed a bit long. She took the check, came straight back to her. And it can turn quite tight. Look at this. You know, turn, 2 strides up in the air. Opens up. Takes one out down the line. Oh, check, check. Because that is a Very, very delicate fence. 65.89. Told you she was quick. Kristen van der Veen straight to the top. Beau runs Faustino Di Tali. Always quick, always competitive, and now leads the way. Madison Getzman, long-time leader, and what a young talent she is. She heads down to second, and Brian Mulgrew into third place. We mentioned Brian Mulgrew. Well, the lady we're about to see is someone who Brian trains with, Tracy Fenney, MTM Commono. She's had a lot of nice horses over the years, has Tracy. You see, she's been competitive here today, and she's got that new time to beat as well, 65.89. You know, Kristen was about a second faster. That'll certainly add the pressure on for these remaining riders. Tracy started riding at the age of 12. Her father suggested the sport as he actually worked at an equestrian centre. You know, she'd done everything from tennis to gymnastics, and then her dad said, just pick one thing you really want to excel in, and luckily she picked horses, and what a career she's had. Her husband Mike McCormack, also heavily involved with the sport. Brian trains with both of them actually, Tracy Fenney and Mike McCormack. They're based in Texas. Time-wise, it's very, very good. Sad she had that rail, though. 69.20. Time was good enough today to go into sixth, but again, lucky rails, unlucky rails there for Tracy Fenney. Heads down to 17th and out of contention for prize money. Prize money in this one, if anyone's interested, is $35,000, or $35,700 actually. So that will make it a world ranking competition as well. Spencer Britton, Win for Life comes next, represents the USA. This test that Alan's set here, Alan Wade, our course designer, is such a useful test because you can either go as wide as you like or as tight as you like. And when you walk watch the riders walk the course, they'll actually walk the line they intend to ride. So they're not out there taking shortcuts or anything. Spencer's another young rider. He'll be about 21 now, I think. He's been campaigning this horse in the Grand Prix and Tryon. Took it to the Hampton Classic as well. Opening up down here. You can see him just using that upper body though, just to keep the balance. Gets the clear, 77.37. Not bad at all. Going to pop him into 12th place. So still in the money at this stage. So top three at the moment. Kristen van der Veen leads, Madison Getzman second, and Brian Mulgrew in third place. This is Uma O'Neill coming next, Cavill. She's certainly been adding to her string this year. Got some very nice new horses. She spent the summer at Spruce Meadows with her string, and we saw her trainer Mariano Maggi a little bit earlier. Sure, he's been helping her out in the warm-up as well. She represents New Zealand these days. Actually grew up in America, though, in California, and she was, you know, studying riders like Richard Spooner, Susie Hutchinson, Rich Fellers. She's got a great horse called Clockwise of Greenhill Z. Won World Cups together before, and just catches that vertical. And you can see her just pushing down this line, looking for that stride. The riders will know as well that although this is a one-round competition against the clock, with the amount we had in it and with the amount of clears we've got, as soon as they have a rail, they're pretty much out of contention. You know, we've got 13 clears now. The amount we had in it, a fast 4 fault might just scrape in there, but unless you're, you know, really going for it with 4, you do have the option available to you of thinking, do I want to still ride this competitively and find out what I've got in the tank, or do I want to steady down a little bit and give the horse a nice experience? Uma O'Neill finishes on 8 today, 78.30 is the time, Uma O'Neill and Cavell. It's an exciting time for Uma, you know, with those new horses starting to really come through the ranks for her. So keep an eye on what she's up to over the next few weeks, the next couple of months, especially as the World Cup season continues. Just over 20 combinations left to come forwards here. The Stoller Welcome Stake here at the American Gold Cup. Again, if you have just joined us, feel free to get involved with the conversation either on YouTube Live or on Facebook Live. Make sure you share as well. Let all your friends know that they can be enjoying this competition, and others still to come this weekend as well. If you are watching the World Cup here on Sunday, though, that is only available on FEI TV. I'll be joined by Katie Stazak for that one. Make sure you can join us both for that. So that's on Sunday. This is Cormac Hanley on track now. Copain Z representing Ireland. He's been riding his whole life, actually. He started at the age of 4, came from an equestrian family. Both his parents and his uncles are all international riders, so he really grew up around them and has been around them all his life. He's much tougher than me. His ethos is pain is temporary, losing is permanent. Definitely much tougher than me. But he's had some amazing horses over the years. Copain Z was finishing top 6 in the Speed Derby at Dublin. He had VDL Cartello over there. He campaigned that in the Dublin Grand Prix. Been jumping at Spruce Meadows as well. And just look how smooth this is. You can barely see the tiny adjustments that he has to make. And it just opens up down to the last. Definitely a contender for top 3. 66.80 there. Cormac Hanley into second place. Copain Z goes second. Pushes Brian Mulgrew down into third. Into fourth, actually. Madison Getzman into third. Brian Mulgrew into fourth. And Kristen van der Veen leading the way. Things, you know, really starting to open up. Madison Getzman led the way for such a long time, about 35, 40 horses. And now things starting to shuffle, but 65.89 still the time to beat. Leslie Howard now back with her second ride in this one. This is Quidam for the United States of America. Leslie been a part of the US team for so many years. She's represented her country at the highest level. Leslie off to a good start with this one. Leslie's the sort of rider, it's always nice to watch in the warm-up to, you know, just look at how she's schooling her horses, just catches the front bar off there. Oh. Jordan Coyle's just joined. Good to have you with us, Jordan. Look forward to seeing you back in the ring soon. I think Leslie's doing what I was kind of chatting about earlier. You know, she had that early rail, knew she was out of contention, knows what a nice horse she's sitting on. So now she's just going for that real smooth round. Just giving it a nice finish here. Kathleen's just watching from California. If you've got any questions or anything, do let me know. I'll try my best to answer them. Rodent Razor says this lady is a legend. She certainly is a legend. Piper Pixie says, is BC Madden going soon? Yep, she's actually got 2 horses still to come in this. So today it's going to be 4 jumping, couple of time faults there for Leslie Howard, 85.33. BC Madden's got 2 horses to come, and one of them I think you may recognise because a world famous rider, well, not that BZ is, I mean BZ's one of the best, but another world famous rider has ridden it in the past. It's a horse called Hannah. Can you remember who rode that? I'll tell you when she comes in. But speaking of the great lady herself, BZ Madden should actually be next with her first of 2 rides here. And what a tremendous few weeks BZ's had. I mean, placing all over the place. But then went to Spruce Meadows, jumped in the $3 million Grand Prix up there, and came out on top. She won $1 million in that competition. That doesn't look like BZ actually. It's a bit hard to see on the monitor I'm looking at, but that doesn't look like BZ Madden. We'll keep you updated on that. Certainly not BZ though.
So 466 is on court. It's Coco Ferry from the local Jalabi.
Off to a nice start. This is a big horse as well. A lot to manage. Quite a chunky monkey, this one. Addy the horse says on YouTube Live, there's BZ Madden. That ain't BZ Madden. I know the graphics said it's BZ Madden, but it ain't. I think this could be Samantha White, but we'll update you as soon as we know. Or if anyone online knows, feel free to chip on in there. Most of them I can recognise, but on the monitor I just can't quite make out who this is, but I can guarantee you it's not BZ Madden. Oh, just circles round there. And she already had the rail, so she was already out of contention. And just starting to pick up those time faults. Uh, 89.90.11 is the total there. Not quite there, Day, to make some minor adjustments down the lines and stuff, but certainly a lot to think about for future days for that combination. Christian van der Veen still leads, Cormac Hanley second, Maddie Gottsman sitting in 3rd place at this stage. And this one is BZ Madden. Jiva van Broekend. And over the years, when you think of the nice horses that BZ's had, and she can make anything look nice, to be honest, can't she? You can see how tidy she was through that turn. It's always a masterclass when you get to watch her ride. And then just catches that back rail. She's going to be disappointed with that one. But when you think at the moment, you know, she's got Coach, she's got Dari Lou, Jiva, this one. What an amazing string, a really exciting time for her actually. And it was such a fantastic competition, that $3 million Grand Prix. Commentating on that last weekend was a real pleasure, and you know, we ended up with no double clear. She finished on a time fault in the second round and took the victory. So the horse just got a little bit deep there and just couldn't quite get off the ground and then make that back bar. But you know, as a relatively new one on her string, and it is a real nice horse, but today finishes on 12 jumping in a time fault. Total of 13 for Beezy, 82.63. Real confusion going on YouTube live about which one is and which one isn't Beezy. The one we have seen is most definitely Beezy. It was the one before. It had a little bit of a wrong graphic on there, just to confuse you. That was a younger rider, but the one we've just seen is definitely Beezy Madden, and the good news is she's back with a very nice horse to come a little bit later on. Someone else who's had a couple of rides in this one is Georgina Bloomberg. She comes next, another local rider. This is Shamur, the 11-year-old horse by Caetano. Georgina was placed very well yesterday. She's already went clear with her first ride, sits in 14th, so maybe still just inside the money with the other one. Simone's watching in South Africa. Great to have you on Facebook Live with us. Horst's watching from Frankfurt. Georgina just having that early rail here today. This one just hangs in the air slightly. But again, a real tidy rider to watch. Pings off the ground. Well, a lot to like there, but sadly takes the rail, finishes on 4 jumping one time. 81.07 for Georgina Bloomberg, representing the USA with Shamur. No change to that leaderboard. Kristen van der Veen leads, Cormac Hanley second, Maddie Gottsman sitting in third at this stage in 65.89. Time to beat as we get down towards the final 18. And it's a little bit rainy out there. I think someone's just wiping his lens. It's a real shame and a real change to the weather, because yesterday was an absolute scorcher. Today's just not very nice out there at all. Here's Samantha White coming next. Samantha's about 21 years of age, and this is her kind of main horse that she's campaigning at the moment. Drima de Bergier. Jumps into the Grand Prix at Traverse City. Went to the Hampton Classic with this one as well. Addy the horse says they're watching from West Virginia, a hunter and jumper rider. Piper says her gelding name is Hufflepuff. It's a great name, Harry Potter fan. Red Rover says with riders on multiple horses, could they be placed first and second? Has it been done? Oh, it has been done. Sadly, Samantha is on the ground, but then straight back up on her feet again. Good to see she's not hurt there. Yes, it has been done. If they've got multiple rides, they can finish first and second. It's just like them being different riders almost. You know, they're just as competitive as each other, and it has definitely been done before. I've seen riders have 3 horses in some competitions and finish first, second, and third. They're only allowed to ride 2 in this one today, though. And for anyone that's interested about the kind of rules of the competition or how the competitions work, you can actually search on the FEI calendar for each of the competitions, and you can download what they call the draft schedule, and it outlines all the competitions that are going to be taking place. You can see who all the judges are, who the course designer is. You can see McLean just asking for a fence to be checked or something to be rolled out there. Maybe even some of the ground to be sort of patted down. McLean Ward coming forward next. He certainly needs no introduction here. He lives about 10 minutes away. He's always on great form. Representing the United States of America with Rapidash, the 9-year-old gelding by Chaki Z out of a Lancelot mare. Anna Westhill talking about that falsing. Glad to see it happens to the best. And it happens to everyone, doesn't it? It happens to us all. If you get on, and in fact, if you haven't fallen off for a while, you know it's going to be coming soon. McLean just getting a couple of things double checked out there. Waiting for that bell. And then he'll be getting underway. I think they might have had to replace a rail actually when the last rider came off at the Hermes. That might be the short delay that we're experiencing out there just now. Rapidash is a horse he had a top 10 finish with at the Hampton Classic. And a new one for his string actually, brought it out internationally for the first time. I think it was around the end of April, and since then, you know, we've seen him here at this venue during their spring tournaments, also at Devon, at Upperville, at Spruce Meadows, Hampton Classic. So you imagine just how much great experience this horse has had, and with McLean sitting on it as well, you know, one of the very best in the world. From the gold medals to World Cup finals now. He took the win of the World Cup final when it was last held in the US in Omaha, Nebraska. That was such a good World Cup final as well. I really hope it goes back to Omaha. World Cup finals next time around, though, are going to be in the United States. They're going to be in Las Vegas. That's in April, so you haven't got your tickets yet. It's a great excuse to come to Las Vegas. I go to Vegas every November for the World Cup qualifier and always stay on for a couple of days. So much to see there, so much to do. And I really hope we can get McLean there, get him qualified. I'm sure we will. He's a regular at the World Cup finals. Has been for many years. Gerben Morsink of the Netherlands used to ride this horse. That line's certainly got a couple. Rapidash, just a 9-year-old. Well, we have seen younger horses in this competition today. We've seen a 7-year-old, we've seen an 8-year-old. But 9's a good age for this level. You know, they're coming in at 1.45 m. Some fences just a touch bigger. And Alan Wade's built them a real nice course where they've got plenty of options. McLean just catching that one rail today. It finishes on the 4. 75.07, so time good enough for 12th, but with the rail out of contention when it comes to placings. McLean Ward there for the USA. That's Cat Tyree that you can see just cantering through there on the grey. She's been spending a little bit of time in Europe campaigning over there. Katanji is the name of the horse. It's a 13-year-old gelding by Contact Me. Just having a look around. Getting organised. Serenade said that was effortless. The horse covers a lot of ground, says Peru. Sophie Dignan says, I love Rapidash's jumping style. Not flat, but also doesn't float in the air for long. Yeah, it doesn't. It's really economic over that fence. Here's Cat Tyree underway. Another one who's regular on the World Cup circuit. Been adding to her string of horses. Looks like weather-wise it might just be drying up a little bit now. Well, there's some heavy rain forecasted for later today, so for those that were caught out thinking that this competition would start an hour and a half later, that's why the organising committee here decided to move it up a little bit, just to try and avoid those weather patterns that are moving through here in New York. Really nice and smooth here from Cat Tyree. It's a clear 68.71 is the time there. That's going to go into 7th place at the moment there for Cat Contender for the USA. See that really nice Porsche in the ring as well. Porsche Danbury and Audi Danbury, big supporters here. So you can see the Audi on one side of the table there, the Porsche on the other side. I'm sure there's a cheesy line in there about horsepower that I'm not going to go near. Molly Ash is next. I know some that would. Her husband Chris, really supportive. He's got a daughter called Taylor, son called Connor. Real regular on the circuit over here. Got some nice facilities in Connecticut, but also a place down in Florida. Like so many of the riders over here, they spend the beginning of the year down at the Winter Equestrian Festival. They do have options though now. I mean, California's got a circuit. Used to be the HIT circuit at Thermal. That's just been bought over. So it'll be interesting to see, you know, what changes are going to be occurring there. But it's always a great winter circuit if you fancy California. Oh, catches that front rail on the Oxer there. Molly Ash will hopefully be jumping Cassandra here this weekend. That is such a nice horse. This one, Van Diemma, though, she took to the Hampton Classic. But it's a relatively new one for her. You know, this would be its 7th or 8th competition with Molly on board. Peter Wilde used to ride this. He was down at WEF at the Winter Equestrian Festival at the beginning of the year with it. Jumped it in Ocala as well. Always exciting to see, you know, when a rider gets a new horse, especially one that's already been out there and you kind of know its form with its last rider. It's interesting to watch and see how it goes with a different rider on board. Just catches that rail, comes in a little bit deep, and comes out with its knees. You see what a great horsewoman Molly was, because it would have been easy just to kick on down to the last fence, but quite rightly, you know, she knew she was out of contention. She pulls up, she rebalances the horse, makes sure everything is absolutely okay, because those rails are pretty heavy, and when you get in, you know, deep and catch it with your knees, it could give the horse a knock. But you can see the horse perfectly okay. So Molly just gets that nice little rhythm and jumps that last fence, more so just to finish on a good note than anything else, I think. Not going to be her day though. Finishes on a total of 101.06.
Here's the Guitar Marteau and does a good cake. First did a couple of rides for American rider. The local farms has the ownership on this one for the lady who's twice been FEI welcome.
Someone asking about the stride distance between 3 and 4, that kind of early related line. When I walked that, it was on 5 strides, but I think, you know, it's going kind of slightly downhill there. And that does make a difference. It's almost like a boulder rolling down a hill. So although it's on 5 strides, you've got to look for the undulation in the ground and then make your adjustments that you need to. You know, if it's going downhill, maybe just sit back a little bit more so that you fit that nice 5 strides in there. But it's always easy watching at home or even watching in the commentary box. You know, when you're coming down there, 5 strides feels like it's 1 stride almost. You know, there's no space to make major adjustments. You can see they got the 5 strides through there quite nicely. Serenade says the cups must be quite flat. Generally speaking, in modern show jumping, the material gets lighter and the cups get shallower. You know, the days of huge, big, heavy material and big, deep cups that you had to really kick out, those have gone now. You know, everything's much more technical, the material's much lighter, and the horses have to be much more careful. Hannah says, how many hands is this horse? Fairly big, I think. I don't actually know, I haven't met this horse, but it looks about maybe 17 hands. Nothing's as big as Deacon's that we saw jumping earlier, Margie Engel's horse. That's 18-1. Well, Brian Gattal putting in a nice round there, 68.85 with Zarniki K. Not bad at all, heads down into 8th place. See the range is starting to come down again, a little bit heavier, and that's why the organising committee here did move the class up a bit, about an hour and a half early. Tracy Fenny now, we saw her earlier, back with another one. This is MTM Rev de Paradis. Second ride for Tracy here. Using a little bit of rein back there. Make sure the horse is listening. Also a good way to get the horse back on its hocks as you start. You want that really uphill feeling as you have in the canter. Tracy's husband Mike very much involved with the sport. They work so well together. Someone mentioned about being able to take a stride out down that line. You would really have to be flying if you wanted to try and come down there on 4. You know, to move a 4 to a 5, that is a big question. Thinking about these distances though, you know, when the riders are walking the course, they walk for their horse. They're not walking for the average stride distance. So if you know you've got a horse with a big long stride, something that really eats up the ground, you'll keep that in mind. If you've got something that's got pony legs and goes in a little delicate canter, then you'll keep that in mind as well. So when you're walking, you're really walking to find out whether you need a bit more leg or you need to take a little check down a distance. A lot to like about Tracy's round, just maybe came a little bit flat down there to the final one. But finishes on 12, 67.70, Tracy Fenny, MTM Rev de Paradis. But, you know, Tracy's ridden so many great horses over the years, and it's an exciting time for her. Got a couple of nice ones on the circuit. A bit uncharacteristic today, but finishes on 12. Down to the final 10 then. 10 partnerships remain here. Has Kristen van der Veen done enough to take the victory? We'll have to wait and see. Not too long to go though. Make sure you stay with us right to the very end, and remember, keep hitting that share button as well. Let your friends know that they can come and join us. Get involved with the conversation. You can follow FEI Jumping on Facebook. There's going to be lots of behind the scenes footage and features and stuff is always on there. American Gold Cup's on social media as well. Definitely worth following that. And if you want to follow me on Facebook or Instagram, my name is Adam Cromarty, and it is great to have you all with us. Right, Cormac Hanley is already underway. Double H Kalido for the USA, or actually for Ireland. That graphic's wrong, I'm pretty sure. Although Quentin, oh no, sorry, of course he's for the USA. What am I talking about? What am I talking about? I just looked at the wrong list for a second there. Apologies to Quentin. It's always been on Team USA, never changed. And just has a couple of rails early on. And just to continue with the confusion, this is actually Cormac Hanley. It doesn't look like Quentin Judge. Little issue on my monitor, I think. So Cormac Hanley, and we're back to Ireland. This is Alma Zed, and Quentin's coming next. Gotta love a bit of confusion. You can see Cormac now just setting up nicely for that line. Again, having those early rails, he knows he's out of contention. He's using this as a bit of a school now. And it's going to be 9 in total, 79.63. Cormac Hanley, Alma Zed there for Ireland. 8 for jumping and 1 for time. That looks more like Quentin Judge. After we give that lens a little wipe. Quentin Judge for the USA, Double H Kalido. Boy, he's produced some great horses over the years from the Double H farm. And a lot of the riders we see, follow their parents into the sport. His parents weren't involved at all with horses. He started riding in Chicago when he was 13, and I think he's been pretty much hooked since then. Well, he could feel that. I don't know if you noticed about 2 strides out, he gave the horse a little tap down its shoulder with his stick. He tried to make that adjustment down there. These athletes have got such amazing feel. So sits on 8 at the moment, and I think he's just given that signal to the ground jury and decided to retire. Quentin Judge retires, top 6 then. Kristen van der Veen, Cormac Hanley, Maddie Getzman, Brian Mowbray, Shane Sweetenham and Sydney Shulman. America leads just now though with Kristen van der Veen out in front, 65.89. Andy Coker coming forward as our next to go. This horse has got such a cool but slightly odd name. This horse is called Squirt Gun. Andy Coker rides for the USA. He buys and sells a lot of horses. He produces a lot of horses. This is one for the team at Eye Candy Jumpers. One that he's just back from Saugrassies with. He was jumping there last weekend. Had a great win with this horse actually at Thunderbird at Vancouver. He first brought it out in the young horse competitions over in Europe when Andy was over there. Jumped it in the young horse competitions at Spruce Meadows over the summer, and from watching it on the first week of the summer series at Spruce Meadows to the last week, it just kept growing and growing and growing, and Andy's always competitive. You can when you can compare the way that he's riding this track to some of the others that have been having a bit of a school, you can see just how ultra competitive he is. Always goes for the forward stride, has a little rub there. This is a power fence, so he can put his leg on a bit more. Prue says, Squirt Gun, I love him already. Ellie Sparks is agreeing, Rodent Razor as well. Carlin says, so many beautiful and talented horses, absolutely, and so many quick ones as well as he comes down towards the final fence. Such a great try, 67.23. That looks so quick, but it's actually into 5th place. It's interesting because although his horse was going a little bit faster, Kristen van der Veen and Cormac Hanley and Maddie Getzman, they maybe just turned that little bit tighter, and that can really save up some time. BC Madden coming back. This is her 2nd ride. If you were with us earlier, I set you a little question. I asked you who used to ride this horse. It's a horse called Hannah. If any of you know, put it in the comments box below, and I'll let you know who used to ride it when BZ finishes her round. So who used to ride Hannah? I have to say though, since BZ took it over, this horse has just been jumping spectacularly well for her. We've seen her pick up many placings. But the question is, who used to ride it? Easy's not had the ride for long. Brought it out for the first time in the second half of the summer series at Spruce Meadows. It'll be about their 6th or 7th competition as a pairing. The horse itself's been to pretty much everything, all the big Grand Prix, Nations Cup, World Cups with that previous rider. Pit Poskin says that the last round we saw looked so competitive. It was. It's just a really quick competition, you know, for those that are competitive. And you've got to get those tight turns, I think, in this one. You know, unless your horse has got the stride of an elephant, you know, you've really got to get those tight turns. And I think Andy was just a little bit wider than some of the other ones. Beezy still getting to know this one, really. For jumping in one time, total of 5:79.72. I think when they get to know each other really, really, really well, they're going to be such great contenders. Hannah, though, used to be ridden by Steve Gerda. Current not world #1. Steve Gerda used to have that horse. So Serenade got it right. Rodent Razor, well, you kind of doubled your chances. You give a couple of guesses, but yeah, you got it right as well. Alan Barron also getting it right with Steve Gerda. Getting down towards the final 6 or 7 here, Hardin Towell joins us with Clearville. Second ride for Hardin. No change to that leaderboard though. Kristen van der Veen, she's won so much all over the world and she still ranks right at the top for now. 65.89 becoming that time to be beaten. Hardin Towell doing a lot of training and a lot of coaching these days, as well as producing these horses up the grades. At 5 stride distance, catches another one, just takes out the front bar there. So sits on 4. Got a feel for the ring crew out there in that rain. It's a 12-year-old horse, this one. Brand new ride for Hardin. Krzysztof Akola, a Polish rider, had been jumping this till quite recently. Spy clear away out of a Lancer mare, so certainly some good breeding lines in there. But still just working on their communication a little bit. First time out though for this partnership, so certainly not going to want to retire, you know, wants to get that experience in the ring with this horse. With the amount of horses Hardin's produced over the years, I mean, he's probably already working on the plan on his head. Oh, I was going to say as he comes down to the last fence, but just didn't quite get the stride and the takeoff that Hardin was hoping for down there. And you know, it's 26 today, but to bring a horse out into this big open grass ring and jump this FEI class as your first one together, you know, that's not an easy feat. And Hardin, a great horseman. He's jumped to the top levels of the FEI competitions, just not his day today.
So we understand that Charlie just having an issue with some time, so he'll be joining us shortly, all being well. And still
so just a handful left to come forwards here in this one-round competition. The Stoller Welcome Stake forming a part of the American Gold Cup for 2019. If you have just joined us, we are at Old Salem Farm, which is in North Salem, in good traffic. We're about 40 minutes from New York downtown. I went the other day, I got an Uber and it took about 1 hour and 40. That's how bad the New York traffic is. And always, if you are heading down there, I think it's always best to walk for about the last mile, because it's much faster than trying to drive in the middle of New York. But it really is a city that never sleeps. And I know a lot of the athletes that are here this week will be taking some time out. We do have earlier finishes. You know, this is our last competition today, so we should be done and dusted at around 3 o'clock. So they are using that time heading downtown. I went to see Wicked for the 3rd time the other night, and it was so good. Went to see Bat Out of Hell when we were here for the Youth Championship. So it's nice to be able to head into the city, and the riders are doing the same, because, you know, we travel from show to show to show. So it's nice to be able to do the odd normal thing as well, and, you know, head out with friends or go for dinner to some different restaurants. You can see in the back ring as well, there's more than just this main ring here at the American Gold Cup. There's another jumper ring. We've got some hunters going on as well. We've only got 5 left to go. Has Kristen van der Veen done enough? Final reminder as well, we've only got 5 left, but you can still share it, you can still like, and you can still subscribe to FEI Jumping on Facebook, as well as all the social channels for the American Gold Cup. They're always posting on Facebook and Instagram. So if you want some behind the scenes stuff, then make sure you do that. I'll be posting some on my Instagram as well, so you can follow me at Adam Cromarty. Piper Pixie says New York is one of our favourite places to go. Rodent Razor said one of their friends went to the Hampton Classic. Ellie Sparks says, have I seen The Cursed Child yet? Not yet, I'm desperate to see it, but that's such a commitment because it's in the 2 parts, isn't it? You've got to have the whole day to go and see it. Charlie Jacobs back, Senior S. This is probably his top horse at the moment. It's one he's taken to a couple of World Cup finals. He's got some new horses on his string, but this is the one that he probably knows the best. If you weren't watching earlier when Charlie came in with the first horse, was talking about the fact that he's, you know, technically classed as an amateur, although he's jumping professional tracks and rides like a professional. He does have a full-time job. He's the CEO of the Boston Bruins. So does this in his spare time as a hobby. But you wouldn't tell, you know, the way he rides and the way he produces and the way he manages his string. It's drifting a little bit left through there. You see Charlie just using that left leg just to keep him nice and straight, flex him left, push him over. Oh, that was lucky through there. And he's trying to sort out that distance. Again, it looks like you've got a bit of space, but those fences just come at you so quickly. It's looking a little bit deep on the approach to that Hermes Oxer now. You can see the rider's just trying to set them up to make sure they're in a good place just to get up in the air. And then Charlie using a bit of space now that he knows he's had that one minor issue. Picking up some time faults now. Finishes on 8 jumping, couple of time faults, 101.21 there. Charlie Jacobs, Cassina S. I think some people also watching on a bit of a delay, they've maybe rewound or they've just joined us and rewound a bit. So lots of people still seeing Steve Gerda. I asked earlier who, you know, BZ Madden's horse used to be ridden by. If Steve ever comes across this webcast, I bet he's going to wonder why his name is all over it. Not too many left to come forward. Richie Maloney next, Yapayando. Another cool name for a horse. Richie representing Ireland. Back with another one on his string. Yeah. You find that at this level that most of the riders will have 2 or 3 that are out competing at the higher levels. And that goes back to being able to manage your string. You know, if you've only got one top horse, then you're putting a lot of pressure on and trying to compete it, you know, every weekend. It just doesn't work. You kind of need those horses so you can manage the string and manage their schedules. Richie's been competing since he was just 8 years old. He was kind of born into it, his whole family involved with the sport. You think of the horses he's had over the years, and even recently, you know, Roxy Music on good form. Call Me Number One, another one. Miss Crucio, who we saw a little bit earlier, Button Sight. But this is Yapayando. Had a top 12 finish with this at the Hampton Classic 2 weekends ago, or 3 weekends ago that was now. Also campaigning over the summertime with this horse at Spruce Meadows. Had top 10 finishes there. So in really good form. Serenade says that she's a graphic designer and trying to get her freelance work going so she can port her riding. If you've got a link to your website or something, Serenade, make sure you put it in the comments so everybody can see as well. Look at just how much you can open that horse up through the distance. That was a great bit of riding through there. Takes a little check down to the vertical because we know just how delicate that is. 67.40 the time there for Richie Maloney. goes into 7th place. Very competitive at the top 6. He's just outside of that and into 7th.
Singuletto is for Hillary McNerney, and another riding for the USA is by Singuletto, the 10-year-old girl. Singuletto.
Hillary McNerney having a little look around here with Singuletto. Those ones that are coming at the end, they walked this track hours ago. So they'll have watched one or two before they come in, and also just, you know, reminding themselves of where everything is and what stride patterns they'd thought about and looked at when they walked the course earlier. Hillary's another one that's been adding to her string this year. There's been a lot of changes in horses and stuff this year. But this is one she's had for a couple of years. She's jumped it over in Europe. She's jumped it at Spruce Meadows. Was over in Europe up until a couple of weeks ago, actually. Had a couple of top 10 finishes over there. This is her first show back out in North America since her little trip over. Hillary being competitive here today and just arriving at that skinny style a little bit earlier than she'd hoped for. So the horse just couldn't quite get up in the air. Sits on 4. That's a real interesting turn that Alan Way's set there. Got to be so tight there if you want to try and be towards the top time-wise. Hillary just coming down on the 4 though to this final fence. This is a horse that Rodent Razor says he likes on YouTube Live, but she's going to finish on 4:72.97. Getting some great experience over in Europe, a horse she knows relatively well. Just having that skinny style, and they're so delicate. Called styles over in Europe and in the UK, and here they're called skinnies. So I kind of combine it. It's got to become a skinny style. Just a couple left then. Paul O'Shea for Ireland next. Scarrag Glen's 7 Pillars. The 9-year-old by Spartacus out of a Quantum mare, KWPN horse, as we get down towards those final riders. Paul O'Shea was in a little bit earlier, so this is his second ride. Currently sits 15th, jumped clear with the first one actually. The ground jury said to the riders, you can absolutely wear your rain jackets because the weather is not nice out there. If we were in Scotland, we'd say the weather is minging. Here we'd just say it's a bit showery. Well, this is a combination that finished top 6 at Socrates. Had a bit of a light season actually. We saw them down at Deer Ridge Farm, which is Charlie Jacobs' base actually, for the Palm Beach Masters, and had a bit of time off. And they've been jumping at Tryon and Socrates for the last couple of weeks. Good to see this horse back out. It was 9 years old, so maybe just had a little bit of time off. And you know, these younger horses all develop at a different rate. Some of the 8-year-olds are ready to go. Some of the 9-year-olds just have a little bit of time off here and there. But the athletes we see are all great horsemen and horsewomen. And every single horse is an individual, of course. It's going to be 6 today, 85.14. Total is 6 there for Paul O'Shea, Scarrag Glen's 7 Pillars. There's one combination left to go. We know Kristen van der Veen's going to win today because she already leads, and she's our last as well. So she's got her own time to beat, 65.89. She's got about a second between the first her time and the second place time. That's 66.80. Someone was asking earlier, can the riders finish first and second if they've got multiple horses? Well, you might just be about to see that because she's always quite competitive. This is Kristen van der Veen. Bull Run's Prince of Peace, last to go here in the Stoller Welcome Stake. Deirdre McMahon, I hope that's how you pronounce your name, Deirdre. She's watching on Facebook Live and says, am I from Dumfries? Not from Dumfries. I am from Edinburgh. I actually live in Manchester now in England. But I actually used to broadcast in Dumfries. I used to work for a radio station years and years and years ago called West Sound and West FM. And my breakfast show at the weekend used to be broadcast up where West FM's based, and also down to Dumfries as well. I've never been, but my voice has. You can see, I was going to say from the get-go, she's already thinking forward, and the horse was certainly thinking forward down that related distance, just catches the skinny there. But we know she's going to be winning with the first horse. Just steadying down to the last, because she knows she's out of contention now, so just wants to give the horse a nice finish down that final line. 69.98 the time, finishes on 4 there. Kristen van der Veen, Bull Run's Prince of Peace. Time-wise, that wasn't bad though, was it? Would have been kind of in the top 12. Of course, that rail just pushes them way out of contention, but the good news is Kristen van der Veen will take the victory here today with that first of her 2 rides, and she is so competitive. The horse she wins on, Bull Run's Festino d'Italie, have been way over, you know, to Europe, to even further afield, and have won all over the place. There's your result though. Kristen van der Veen confirmed as our winner. Bull Run's Festino d'Italie. Cormac Hanley takes second for Ireland. And look at the young riders in that lineup as well. I mean, Kristen's still fairly young. Madison Gensman, though, is even younger. She's about 19 or 20. So is Brian Mulgrew. So it's really nice to see those younger riders, you know, pushing up onto our leaderboard as well. Well, a huge thank you to everyone who has joined us on Facebook Live and YouTube Live. It's always great to have you with us. Don't forget you can follow FEI Jumping on Facebook. There's going to be lots of features and stuff posted on there over the weekend and beyond. The American Gold Cup, you can follow them on social media. They're always posting stuff. And we're back with more on YouTube later in the weekend. The Longines FEI Jumping World Cup qualifier, that's on Sunday. And that's only available on FEI.TV. You can also follow me on Instagram and Facebook. I'm Adam Cromarty. I'll be posting stuff throughout the weekend. But once again, a huge thank you. I hope you've all enjoyed the class. I hope you've enjoyed chatting along as well. And hopefully you'll be back when we are back next time here from the American Gold Cup. But I've been Adam Cromarty. Enjoy the rest of your day, your night, whatever time it is, wherever you are. And we'll see you again very, very soon.